Jackson floats midair, suspended in the rift, as hundreds of versions of himself flicker into view, each whispering fragments of memory. A flash of white light engulfs him. He awakens barefoot in an ancient temple, surrounded by stars, bathed in moonlight. Before him stands a younger version of himself, robed in storm silver, hammering molten metal on a floating forge. He approaches, confused, but drawn to the sound. The young Jackson doesn't speak, but raises the half-formed blade of realms toward the sky. Suddenly, the forge glows violently. Massive beast of light and shadow descends from the stars, chained by celestial anchors. A memory floods in. Jackson forged the blade not to kill but to seal that beast between realms, using his own soul as the final lock. He screams as the forge burns into his hands, lightning and blood fusing into the sword. His memories ripple through his body. Past Jackson walks into battle, alone, facing a horde of Voidborn and gods alike, each one falling as the blade pulses with raw time storm. He seals the beast using a triangle of storm runes set, the cost of his name, his past, and his future incarnations. Jackson drops to his knees, overwhelmed as the temple burns away, revealing the true truth. He is the key, the seal, and the storm. A voice echoes. When the blade breaks, so do you. Jackson watches the celestial chains shatter in slow motion. He falls backward into darkness as the time rift closes, returning to the present on the mountain, eyes glowing, knowledge burning inside him. He stands, whispers, "I was never chosen. I chose," and lifts the bladed's full, forgotten form, restored for the first time in ages. A tear splits open above the island, swirling with cosmic static and broken starsas. Silence descends across the entire realm. From it descends the Devourer Tynic, cloaked in void fire, with a skeletal crown of galaxies and dragonbone wings that blot the sun. Time itself stutters, birds freeze midair, waves pause mid-crash, and people across realms stop moving as if reality is buffering. Jackson stands alone at the mountain peak as the Devourer lands each step, leaving craters of ash and screaming echoes of past worlds. From its chest opens a jagged portal. Inside are screaming faces of forgotten timelines, and in its hand, a warped, broken mirror version of the Blade of Realms. In the future, Nemesis and Kale feel the shockwave through time. Kale gasps. It has crossed timelines. It feeds on what was broken. Jackson charges forward. He leaps, blade first. Striking the Devourer's arm, his sword clashes with the corrupted blade in a storm of sparks and lightning. The Devourer speaks in a voice of multiple realities. "You are a crack in the seal. You forgot, but I did not." It releases a cosmic roar, shattering the mountain peak, sending Jackson flying through multiple flashes of alternate realities midair. He regains control mid-glitch and channels the full memory of his first life, his blade now glowing with storm-white fire. Jackson lands a strike across the Devourer's chest, cutting through space itself, but it barely staggers. The creature laughs, raising its corrupted blade and slicing open the fabric of the present, revealing a flood of corrupted versions of Jackson. Jackson facing hundreds of versions of himself, some evil, some twisted, all controlled by the Devourer's voice steady. Then I'll fight every version of myself to save the one that still remembers. Jackson stands on a floating platform in a fractured sky, surrounded by swirling rifts. Each one spits out a different version of himself. One version wears black armor and wields twin flame swords. Another has no eyes and controls spectral wolves. A third is monstrous, with wings of shadow and bone. The corrupted Jacksons attack in wave storm blades, shadow claws, and time-piercing arrows fly as Jackson deflects, parries, and weaves through chaos. He leaps into the air, slamming the ground with lightning shockwaves scatter the nearest doppelgangers, but more climb from the void. A teenage Jackson in silver robes lunges, crying, "You could have saved her." Jackson hesitates, barely deflects, pain on his face. He's knocked down by a titangent Jackson made of molten stone, and regret just as a version made of pure fear strikes with venomous speed. Jackson yells, "I am not your failure," and unleashes a full arc of storm energy, wiping dozens off the platform. Suddenly, the corrupted versions begin to fuse, forming a giant mirror beast Jackson, stitched from the worst moments of every timeline. The mirror beast haunts him with twisted memories, visions of lost friends, shattered cities, broken promises. Jackson focuses, plants his blade into the ground, and channels all memories of courage and sacrifice. Light floods outward in concentric rings. The blade Pulsish's form splits into three: warrior, seer, and child, each representing a core part of him. Together, they face the fused monster. They leap in unison, carving into the mirror beast's core, shattering it with a scream that echoes across realms. Jackson lands alone, panting. Only one version remains, a silent, kind-eyed version, who simply says, "Forgive yourself." The kind version fades in. Jackson looks up at the time rift above, whispering, "It's not just about surviving. It's about remembering why." Nemesis and Kyle stand at the edge of a glowing time. Monolith Kyle chants an ancient code, and the stones dissolve into spirals of memory. They step through the time stream, a kaleidoscope of crumbling empires, rising gods, and wars across centuries. They land in a lush, ancient world, the first realm, where dragons speak and the stars still weep. A younger version of the Blade of Realms sits untouched on an altar, surrounded by monks who do not yet understand its power. Kale warns, "This is before the seal. Before you, before Jackson." Suddenly, the sky rips, and Devourer spores rain down, tiny black seeds of cosmic decay that burrow into the land. Nemesis fights them off with twin blades, while Kale finds a child marked with the sigil of Stormsa, a being who will one day become the Devourer. Kale hesitates, tears in his eyes, and says, "We have to unmake him before he's shaped by shadow." A guardian dragon senses their presence and attacks, forcing Nemesis to battle the ancient beast midair, while Kale races to the storm child. Kale speaks gently to the boy, "You don't have to become what they fear. Let me take the storm from you." The child screams, his body glowing like a dying star. Nemesis lands beside Kale, wounded, and places his hand over the child's heart. He channels shadow light into the child, absorbing the future storm god seed into himself. Kale gasps, "You'll become the Devourer now." Nemesis growls, "Not if I die before he's born." He turns to stone as the corruption locks inside him, falling into the river of time, sealing the future threat for now. KL, older and weeping, returns to the time stream alone, whispers, "Jackson, you must never know the price." Jackson walks through a time-stilled forest, leaves frozen midair, light fractured like broken glass, following echoes of Nemesis's energy. He finds a scorched blade embedded in obsidian stone. His hand trembles as he touches it, unlocking a burst of memory not his own. A flash, Nemesis screaming in pain, absorbing the Devourer's soul from a child in the first realm. Kale pleading, "There has to be another way." Jackson stumbles backward, realizing Nemesis sacrificed himself to trap the Devourer's seed inside his own body. Elsewhere, Kyle emerges from a time rift, aged, shaking, carrying a scroll etched in lightning runes and marked fate-bound. He reaches the mountain just as storm clouds churn. Jackson confronts him, eyes glowing, blade humming with emotion. Kale hesitates, then hands Jackson the scroll. "He didn't want you to know, but time always brings its debts." Jackson reads and visions flood in. Nemesis turning to stone, casting himself into the void, and someone pulling him out. Kyle whispers, "The Devourer still lives, because someone betrayed us after the sacrifice." The sky darkens, time quakes, roll through the air. In the distance, a void rift opens, and Nemesis stands inside it, alive, but changed. Jackson shouts, running forward, but the Nemesis before him is twisted, his body laced with void fire, his voice layered with echoes. Nemesis says, "They pulled me out, not to save me, but to use me." He drops a black shard of the Blade of Realms. Suddenly, lightning strikes Kyle, is thrown back. Jackson grabs the shard and is hit with the image of a hidden council of gods, cloaked in shadow, speaking, "Let him become the Devourer. We will bind the world through fear." Jackson's expression hardens, betrayal etched into his face as he whispers, "So this was never about saving time. It was about controlling it." Jackson lifts the restored Blade of Realms skyward, the black shard fusing into its core, his voice low. He says, "Then I'll break fate itself to free him."
Don't forget to like and subscribe.